You can create value and revenue by using your books in courses or as training companions. So, my journey in publishing has been amazing. Starting from my first book, and I was able to go into full time entrepreneurship, but I was not making six figures at that time. However, I'm going to talk today about the book that allowed me to cross over into that mark. It's been an amazing journey. So you can develop books to add value to courses. And the reason why I bring that up is because I tell everyone when you publish, you need to have a strategy, right? You want to make sure that you understand what you want that book to do or to accomplish and who that book is for. So every single book is like a different business plan or a different method of publishing. So some books I create for clients or lead generation, and some books I create for courses and training, and some books I create to answer questions or for experiences. And guess what? I've created some books just for personal fun as well. Okay, but I started teaching author workshops in 2010. At that time, I had worksheets. And in 2011, I started doing an e-correspondence course. And it was email. It was not online courses the way that we have them now. It was literally, I would send an assignment via email. They would send me their response via email, and I would send another assignment via email. And I was charging like $100 per person back then. So that was 2011 through about 2013. In 2013, I was recruited to teach for this international course. So instead of having a 7-week training, which sometimes I call 7 steps, instead of having a 7-week training, I then converted it to an 11-month course. So I had to develop a full curriculum to do that. But based on the 7-week training that I already had, I developed a book in 2015 that changed everything. So when I first started my international course in 2013, I had 23 authors enroll at $500 a piece. So it was decent. Okay, nothing to be bad about. It was good at that time, and I had other income sources, so it was fine. But in 2015, I published Get Right Church to not only encapsulate all that I had been teaching over that 7 weeks. And the reason why I say that is because I had worksheets. So I took those worksheets that I was using in my initial 7-week e-correspondence course, and I just expanded on that thought. And some of you already have something that you can take, and if you would just develop it more and be detailed, there's a book for you. So I constructed this book called Get Right Church. Here was the first version of it. So this was the original. And I had a graphic designer design this cover with the flying pages. And this was 7 steps to successful book publishing, right? So you see my picture on the back. There's a description. And then at that time, I was Renaissance Publications. And that was my label. And I still own GetRightChurch.com. But anyway, so this was the first version of the book. It was a little bigger than the subsequent version of the book, so you learn and you get to play with book sizes. And I moved to Texas in 2015, so I rebranded. So I was Renaissance Publications, and then because I was doing Get Right, I launched a new LLC as Get Right Publishing or Get Right LLC. Okay, so then all my Get Right brands could be under that because I had 15 different things going on. I had like Rain, Rain, Rain. I had Renaissance. And my challenge with Renaissance Publications was people kept calling it Renaissance. So sometimes we try to be innovative and we think we're being deep because we're making it biblical, right? So it was like the rebirth of the kingdom or whatever. And I thought, oh, Renaissance, Renaissance, Renaissance. Well, baby, people kept messing it up. So I would always tell people, get right, get right, get right, get right. So I decided to go ahead and make Get Right my business, and it stuck. So when people see me, they say, go East or Get Right. My brand is East Entrepreneur, Author, Speaker, Trainer because it covers everything that I'm doing in business as an author, which Get Right falls up under that. As a speaker, as I'm speaking in the arts industry, I'm speaking in the business industry, I'm speaking and lots of things, okay? And then trainer, and training can be workshops, conferences, masterminds, summits, online training programs, as long as you're gathering people and you're disseminating information. So I thought that it was important to release a book that went along with my course. So it became the textbook. And I've done this for other things that I've taught as well. This is not the only thing. I've done it for the arts. And so I developed this book, and I asked all of my students to purchase this book. They could reference chapters in this book. This was the original. The font was different. They could reference chapters in this book. I included links in this book. Also, if they wanted coaching services from me, I was able to advertise that in the back of the book, because even though I offered it as a companion product to the course that I was having, it was available to anyone across the world. They did not have to be enrolled in my course to use this book. But, of course, I taught this session called Of Course You Can, but of course, having this book increased my book sales. Okay, so my students bought it, and it made my book sales go up. They were telling other people about it. So if they couldn't enroll in the class at the time, at least you could buy Get Right Church and make it happen. So because I published the book, or after I published the book in 2015, remember, I started teaching the international course in 2013. In 2015, I was able to take the price point of my class from $500 a person. Then I moved it like in 2014 to $700 a person. And then in 2016, it was $850 a person. And I had record enrollment. It was 120 people between my courses. And I had like 3 of them at that time. So it was record enrollment. And I hit 6 figures as a business owner for the first time. So publishing a book in your area of expertise and marketing it appropriately and aligning it with what you're doing when lots of people are looking for expertise in that area can help you to create a salary and not a side hustle. I always talk about that. We do not do side hustles, we do second salaries. So for you, you don't have to necessarily give up your full-time job or give up the existing business that you do, but through this one thing, I was able to create a 6-figure revenue stream for myself and be independent and work for myself at that time. Okay, so be strategic. Now, after we went through the time where we shut down, remember, I took a look at my book, Second Salaries, Not Side Hustles. I took a look at my book, which was still selling, and I noticed that some things had changed in publishing. Ownership had changed, even on Amazon. There were certain services that were offered that were no longer offered. So what I did was I went through and I revised the entire book to make sure that everything was accurate. I made sure every website was accurate. If it wasn't existing, I did referrals and resources that were good. And I also made the book smaller. So I redesigned the book. I re-edited it for 2024 to be up to date and as recent as 2024. And I made it half an inch smaller because this to me was more portable. I also redesigned the cover, and there's the back with an updated picture, and it's colorful, like kind of like stained glass, and it stands out. And I updated the font to make sure that the font was more modern than this font was. Just show you differences, right? I know. But the font was better, the flow was better. I made sure everything was up to date, and then I was able to include my most recent brand, which is East, in there. Okay? So you can re-release things, you can look at things that are out of date. This includes your manuals or anything that you've been doing. Update that stuff and then put it out again. So I re-released it. So now I put revised edition on there so that they understood that it was not a brand new book just because they saw another cover, but it was a book that I had already put out that I revised. And people do this all the time. So do not be afraid to make it better than it was before. If you have anything out there that you feel is worth a second go. Now remember when I talked about For This Cause I Bow My Knees, I didn't revise it. I might if I get a demand, but like, come on. I didn't revise it because I felt like it wasn't my best work, but I did revise Company Keepers. So this is the new cover and the second edition of that, but it's still the same number of pages. I had to go and revise the language. So you can do that. and it was a big, big blessing. So make sure that when you're thinking about being professional and you're doing training, that everything that you put out is excellent. And I have told people excellence will pay you. So think about excellence. Make sure that the cover design is clean. I love clean design. Make sure that your fonts are modern. Make sure that you are not putting out stuff that is out of date, especially if you're telling people to go buy it. So that's a big seller, and it's something that people always ask me for because there's so many things like how to get copyright. It literally is a how-to. So it's not just about faith-based publishing. It really is the how-to about inventory and sales. And then I have some inspiration for authors in the back, okay? So I wanted to inspire you as I shared with you book number 6 of 19 of my journey. So next week I will be back Monday through Friday. I will change the time because I have a little travel going on next week. But Monday through Friday, and the next book that I'm going to talk about, which is actually being updated, it has been out of print. This is one of the books that was on CreateSpace and then it transferred over to KDP. And when it transferred over to Amazon, the book cover wasn't quite the right size. So what I did was I was able to send my PDF file to a designer, have them adjust it, and then allow this book to be on Amazon. So the next book that I'm going to talk about is 7 Steps to a Divine Dance Company. And in context of becoming an expert in your industry, I was running a dance company at that time. It was also a class that I taught through e-correspondence. So I took my e-correspondence classes. This was one of them. This was one of them. And I converted them into books. So I go step by step on how to run a professional faith-based dance company. And it's still valid and relevant to this day. So I'm just going through and making a couple of little updates for language. But other than that, it's a good book. And I will talk about it on Monday. I'll let you know the time. All right, you all. And don't forget, March into Publishing is at the end of the month, and y'all, I just made a deal to do a big training at the end of May. So pay attention. I'm coming back with a vengeance this year for authorship, and we'll also bring back Dallas Author Expo. So if you want to travel, this would be a good time for you to do it in May. And then also this summer as we're working on Dallas Author Expo. So make sure that you stay tuned. All of my books are available online. My birthday is this month. So if you think about it, go purchase a book or send somebody a copy of one. And that would be the right thing to do. Thank you so much. And I look forward to sharing my wisdom with you and practical steps that will help you do the right thing. Talk to you soon.